Today is yoga for wellness, 75-minute class. So we move and breathe for about 60 minutes, and then we meditate, lay down, do a restorative pose for about 15. You're not just laying down, not guided for the 15 minutes. It kind of gives you a long meditation. If you have a chair, sturdy chair, or blocks, grab them. If you don't have them, you can make do. We are going to use the blocks for some hamstring strengthening. It's gonna be fun. All right, so come on down to your backs. Get started on our backs. Bring your knees into your chest first. Give your hips a little wiggle. Land on the ground. Oh, I forgot to turn the fans off.
It's too late, I guess to stay right
So land on the ground, just kind of feel your hips on the ground and notice what you're doing. Notice if when you come down to the ground on your back, you're pushing your lower back to the ground or you're pushing your neck to the ground. Just notice, feel where your shoulders are at. And then bring your feet down to the ground and let your knees come in towards each other. And if this is not comfortable, wiggle your feet around until it is. Maybe bring your hands down onto your stomach or your hips, just a little more extra grounding. And start to land in the present moment. Just starting to let go of everything that's outside of your mat. The to-do list, yesterday, tomorrow, anything that's going on in the world that might be bothering you. Just land in this present moment in time, in this physical body, and see where you're at. Begin to do a little physical scan, looking for any places of tension. Checking in, feeling your neck, feeling the muscles in your face, your shoulders, muscles in your low back. Even really bringing some attention to the soles of your feet and your ankles. And then repeating to yourself softly, I am here now. Slowing your breath down and just repeating those words, I am here now. Almost as if making a little promise to yourself to remain here and present for the next 60 minutes, next 75 minutes. Trying to have an internal experience. And then take your feet up towards the ceiling, just experiencing your feet above your heart. So just have them up there, look at your feet, take wiggles with the feet, and you start to feel your feet, wiggle the toes, spread the toes, take all the kinks out of the ankles, starting to really connect with your feet. If this is pulling on your low back, press your hips down into the ground with your stomach and press your rib cage down into the ground. And really just start to feel your legs. When we hold our legs up high, if they start to feel tense and heavy, this can be a sign that the backs of our legs are a little tight. So maybe bring a little bend into the knees and continue to really think about opening up the feet and bringing some attention to your feet. And then press the balls of the feet up towards the ceiling and pull the toes back. Start to feel the muscles in the legs. And then we're going to pull the balls of the feet back down, toes towards shins. And then turn the feet out and allow the legs to move out. So you're going to turn the feet out and allow the legs, the thigh bones, to move out. Hold it here. Really strong active legs. If this is pulling on your back, again, push down into your hips and push down into your rib cage. You can also support yourself by bringing a little hand action onto the ground by your hips. Hold, and then turn your feet slowly, slowly, slowly pigeon-toed and hold. Notice which muscles fire up to hold this position. Notice that they may be weak and not wanting to do any work. Still pulling the toes active, trying to find more muscles in the legs. Taking a break whenever you need to, as does Kaylee. And then bring your legs bending nice and slow, one at a time, pushing one leg up, one leg bends. But muscles, use your muscles, don't just kind of flop around. Use the muscles in your legs. Not all the way turned on, but just softly turned on. Finding the muscles in your legs. And begin to bring your bicycle towards the wall, starting to engage the lower core. Really pushing your hips down into the ground and your rib cage down into the ground. Notice compensation patterns. What is your face doing? What are your shoulders doing? What is your neck doing?
This is a really handy spot. Here's a chair.
Kaylee's cheating with the chair. Bring your feet back up towards the ceiling. And then bring your knees in and give yourself a little hug. Wiggle the toes, soften and loosen. Find your breath. Plant the feet about hip width down, knees up, and we're going to go into rolling bridges. So just tucking the shoulders in underneath you a little, backs of the arms onto the ground. Inhale as you lift the hips, exhale as you lower. Starting to locate all of the muscles on the backs of the legs. And then starting to try and pull with your core also. And again, looking for compensation patterns. Check in on the neck. Check in on the face. Match the movement with your breath. And then bring your hips up and hold. Check in on your neck. There shouldn't be any tension in your neck. Chin should be up towards the ceiling. Hold here, engage. Now feel like you're actively trying to pull the heels towards the glutes without letting the feet move. See how that fires up the hamstrings, the backs of the legs a little different. Really activate and then push into the heels as if you're trying to push the feet away from the glutes, and see how that changes the position, the muscle action a little. And then bring that hips down, knees in, rock it, release. And then grabbing a block. You're going to place the block underneath the heel of the right foot. So you want to catch it with the heel and then let the block land on the right thigh. So wherever you can grab that so that the heel catches the foot, now make the foot active. Now squeeze the block with the right leg. So this should feel like work already. Place the left foot down, get really strong, and we're going to lift the hips with this squeeze of the leg. So not going to lift the hips very high. Active squeeze. Squeeze like you're trying to crush the block. And we're going to bring the knee down and up. Nice and slow.
I dropped my block.
So if you dropped your block, you're not squeezing it hard enough.
But I don't have a big enough heel for this.
Lower the hips, release the block. Take the right leg down on the ground and give it some wiggles. Right foot down. We're going to grab the block with the left heel. So place it just behind the left heel and then let the block find the thigh. So wherever you can place it so that you feel like you're grabbing it. Strong foot, strong leg. Really squeeze the block like you're trying to crush it. Push into the right foot. Lift the hips just a little and then pull the knee in and out. Squeeze the block. For extra work, you're going to try and pull that right heel towards the glute to fire up the right leg also. Find your breath. Notice compensation patterns. Notice what the rest of the body is doing. It should be mostly in the leg. Lower the hips. Release the block. Bring the knees in and slowly take a little reset rocket. Take some wiggles of the feet. Release the legs. Release the left leg down and really give it some wiggles and loosen. And then bring in the knees in. Give yourself a little hug. Roll over to a side and come on up to a seated position. Kaylee is really in a mood today. She's going to be challenging. So I'm going to move so you can see her. Come on up to a comfortable seat. Find your hips on the ground. Get really tall in the spine as if somebody grabbed a little string from the crown of your head and made you a little taller. Soften the shoulders. We're going to take torso barrel roll. So rolling the torso nice and slow. Just having a spinal experience, feeling your spine. Finding your breath. Roll the other direction. Come back to center. Let the right arm bring to find the ground. Left arm up and over. Press into the right arm and send the rib cage left. Hips grounded. Both hips grounded. Opening up into the left rib cage. Send your breath between each rib. Take the tension out of the neck. Bend the left arm, bring the left hand behind the head but not on it. Draw the elbow back open. Exhale, bring it back down towards the knee. Inhale, open. Exhale, down towards the knee. Finding some muscles in the shoulders. And open back up, reach long, slowly come on over to the other side. Left hand down, ground down, press the rib cage, right, open up. Tension out of the neck, send the breath into the right rib cage. Bend the right arm, bring the right hand behind but not on the head. Open up that shoulder and then bring it down. Inhale, open. Exhale, close, elbow towards knee. Open up, and then inhale as you come back to center. Take nice slow shoulder rolls backwards.
I'm circling backwards.
And then reverse the direction, nice and slow. Finding your shoulders, finding where you hold tension, having an internal experience. And then making your way to a tabletop position if you have the chair facing your chair. So we're going to inhale, tabletop, exhale, child. Starting to land on your mat, land on your breath. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale towards child. Not worrying about the shapes, but worrying about having an internal experience. Finding your hands on the mat. Finding your breath in your body. And you can stay with this simple movement, or if you'd like to tuck the toes and begin to send an exhale towards a down dog shape. Inhale back to table, exhale towards child. Inhale forward, exhale down dog. Inhale forward, exhale child. Nice, slow, controlled, finding your own body. Finding what feels good in your own body. Meeting yourself where you are at. And then return to tabletop position. We're going to take our hands a little bit wider, about mat width, and you can turn the hands out, fingers out. We're going to just engage. So press into the right arm, press into the right hand, left hand. Press and lift backwards. And then we're going to shift our shoulders slowly over to the right and slowly over to the left. Moving slow and controlled and finding our shoulders. And then keeping the hands where they are, tuck the toes, lift the knees and hold. So engage, take the tension out of the face and neck, engage stomach, engage legs, maybe hover the knees a little closer to the ground, engage shoulders and arms, breathe. And then we're going to bring our knees and our nose a little bit forward. And then a little bit back, nice and slow and engaged. Inhale forward, exhale back. Only make this movement as far as your shoulders and arms are strong. Maybe you're still down in tabletop, taking a small movement forward and a small movement backward. Listen to your body as you build your strength. And then lower the knees, untuck the toes, bring the forearms down to the ground. Place them down with your shoulders far from your elbows. So not all the way, your shoulders are not over your elbows. Engage the arms. So feel like you're trying to tear the mat apart. Really strong shoulders first. And we're going to inhale, nose forward, exhale back. Inhale, nose forward, arms and shoulders engaged. And either staying with this simple movement or tucking the toes and lifting the knees to a hover again. Inhale forward, exhale back. See if you can engage the backs of the legs a little more. And then lower the knees, lower the hips. Back towards the heels, finding a child's pose. Find your breath and reset. Come through tabletop and find your chair. we're going to place our hand on our chair. And we're going to do down dog with the chair. So come on up to your feet. And then send your hips backwards. Hands pressing into the chair. And down dog shape using the chair. So feel free to have a giant bend in the knees. Looking for length in the back. So engage from the arms all the way to the hips. Bring your feet a little bit closer to the chair. Turn your hands so your fingertips point towards you. And then just open up the backs of the wrists. So pressing your way on and up, just feeling the back of the wrists getting a little stronger in the wrists in a different shape. Taking some weight.
Moving today.
Why is your chair moving?
It's like sliding and tipping.
So starting to take some weight into the hands.
It's not very straight shirt.
And then turning the hands back towards your regular shape. Take a hold of a block and we're going back to grabbing the block with the heel. So the right heel is going to grab the block. You're going to kick it over. Right heel is going to grab the block and have it find the thigh. Wherever it can find the thigh, you might need to play with it a little. I need to play with it a little to get it balanced and strong. Engage the hamstring. Hands are going to take some of the weight or no weight.
Yeah.
So see where you're at.
The weight.
Some of the weight or no weight. This is where you're at if you're challenging your balance. This is where you're at if you're just going to work on the legs. So, holding here, engage this leg. So you're squeezing the block. This should already feel like your leg is fired up. You're going to bend the left knee and bring the right knee down further and back. Down and back. Squeeze the stomach. Try and keep this fully engaged. And then if you want to challenge your balance, you're going to try and do it while squeezing the block. And then really bring the weight a little bit more onto the hands. Squeezing the block, lift the knee up even with the hips. Still engaging the block. Hold, lift the hip, lift the knee up and bring the knee in. Lift the knee up, bring the knee in. Inhale as you lengthen, exhale as you squeeze, bring the knee in. You have to do this slow and controlled or you're going to throw your block everywhere.
I can't even squeeze the block at my hip like.
So if your hamstrings, so your back of your leg are not cramping, you have super strong hamstring. Bring your knees even. And you're going to take your right knee open to the side. Nice and slow. And back. Slow. And back. Slow. And back. Bring it back. I need to adjust my block. I'm about to pop it. So hold the block. Squeeze it. You're going to open to the side. You're going to find your balance. You're going to bend into the left knee and then really open up to the side and maybe even find a half moon variation without falling. So squeeze that block. See what it's like.
Oh God.
Feel very engaged in both legs. Maybe you can even squeeze, 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 squeeze the block.
I let go of it and now I can't even put it back in. It's so bad.
Let it go. You're welcome to toss it on the ground and start cursing. Take your feet wide. And you're going to shuffle the legs. Really wiggle the legs and notice left and right legs. Your right leg might be really fired up right now. Land your feet about.
I made my right leg small.
Land your feet about that.
I think it got so. It got.
Hold them
so
out apart with the legs.
shrink.
So really engage all of the legs engaged. Pull them apart, get really, really, really strong. Take the hips a little bit over to the right and a little bit over to the left. You can make this as small or as big as you like. You can start to bring the torso into the game, bringing left hand to right foot. Or you can just hold on to the chair and take a little bit smaller. Take a little rest. Find the insides of your legs. We just work the back. Find the insides and the outside muscle groups. And then step it back in about hip width apart. Place the feet down without gripping the toes. And come on up, lift the heels just a millimeter. Like a little piece of paper could slide underneath the heels and then down. Lift a little bit higher and then down. A little bit higher. Each time come up just a little bit.
Are we still supposed to be lifting our toes?
Just not gripping with your toes. You can lift your toes. It actually is more challenging and better for your feet because you're going to engage more of your foot muscle.
I've had my toes lifted this entire time.
Yeah, that's actually usually too challenging. I wouldn't do that with size. But if you want to try it, it's really good for your feet.
It's not that hard.
Nice and slow. Come on all the way up as high as you can. Maybe bend the knees and sink the hips a little. Feel both sides because each leg, one leg is being worked a lot more than the other. So time to check in. Have an internal experience. How do they feel? Lower the heels. And then we get to work the other side. So locking that block underneath the heel of the left foot. Get set up. It's going to take you a second to figure out where it needs to be. Hook it, hold it, engage it. You get really strong, and if you're going to work your balance, you're going to try to balance on that right foot and leave the chair alone. Find your sturdy, strong legs, and then lower the left knee, bend the right, lower left, bend the right, and then lift up. Take breaks when you need to. Find your breath. Engaging that left leg the whole time. Squeeze the block. And then bring it back down. We're going to bring the knee all the way up to hip height and then back to the other knee. Slow, controlled, engaged. Watch for compensation patterns. Soften the shoulders. Soften the face. Engage the left leg a little more. Squeeze the block. Bring it back down. We're going to take left knee open to the left and back. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you return. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you bring it back. Engage the left leg. Squeeze the block. You're going to bring it out, open, bend in the right leg. Land the right hand. Start to lift the torso and bring the left knee all the way up and open. Maybe you can even bring it even with the hip, finding half moon on this side. And maybe even starting to lift up off those fingers. Engage the leg. Slowly.
I'm really proud of that.
Bring it down, all the way down, and then release the block. Take your feet wide and shuffle the legs. Let go of the leg. Find some softness. Let the muscles go. And then step the feet in. Land on the left leg. We're going to take the right knee up and open. Land on the left side. hold here. See if you can still feel engaged without the block. Your leg is still engaged. Open up, send that right knee down to the hip height, and then maybe open to your full expression of half moon. And notice maybe it feels a little easier. Squeeze and hold. Right leg active. Bring it back down, nice and slow, bend in the right knee. And take the legs, soften, move through the legs, and then set up for the other side. So land on the right leg, lift the left, bring it open to the left side. Right hand sturdy on the chair, lift this leg up and then open, half moon, and see if it's easier on this side. Awesome. Maybe you can lift the right arm, come up off the arm altogether, engaged and long. And then bend the knee, bring it slowly back in. Take a little shuffle. Take a deep inhale as we land on our legs, bring our arms up overhead, and bring our head prayer down to our heart. We are going to move and breathe and connect with our breath. Inhale up. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Bring your prayer down to your heart. Find your center. Maybe even close your eyes. And check in on the legs, see how they feel. We're going to bring it down to a little baby chair. So legs are hip width or together, whichever you prefer. And if you want the challenge, you're going to squeeze a block. So squeezing the block, come on down to a little chair. Set up first, find your base. So legs are strong, strong, strong. Stomach is stronger than the lower back, so lower back is now pinching. Squeeze. We're going to bring our arms up. Inhale as we bring our arms up. Exhale as we draw down. Inhale up. Exhale, draw down. Find the muscles in your back. Find the muscles between the shoulders. Squeeze the block. Notice your face. Soften your face. Arms strong. Hands strong. Maybe even make fists if that helps you. And then bring it all the way up. Release the arms down. Release the block if you have it. And connect back in with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. 3 times. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. This time bring your prayer all the way through the heart down to the ground. Touch the ground, bend in the knees. Slowly walk the hands out. Once you get the hand out, your feet should be a little bit closer to your hands. And if you like, maybe practicing little bunny hops. So coming onto the balls of your feet, taking some weight onto your hands. Maybe this is as far as you go. Going onto the balls of your feet, taking your weight into your hands, sending your hips closer. Slowly playing. Or maybe you want to start to do little kick-ups, taking your whole weight up. Try not to have your feet all the way back towards a down dog shape. Have your feet closer to your hands. And focus on engaging the stomach, the shoulders, and lifting hips up rather than feet up. Hips up. Get your hips up.
Yeah, watch out for your chair.
And when you're done playing, step right foot back, left foot back, lower the knees, and find yourself in a child's pose. Whew. Bring your upper body up almost to a tabletop with your hips a little bit further backwards. Plant your right foot down on the ground. So your right foot, front of the foot down on the ground, and then feel like you're pulling it back towards your right hand and sink the hips back. So we're really trying to find a stretch in the front of the foot. If you have strong knees and legs, you can go all the way back, lift up. So once you lift up, you can use your block to land. Lift up, pull your feet forward. So actively find the stretch and strength. Pull your feet towards your knees. Pull, pull, pull. Engage, then sink the hips back. Otherwise, you're on your left foot now. Lift, pull, sink hips backwards. Mindful of the knees. So watching that you can retain strength around the knees whenever you do this. If you just sink back and pop back, you're adding force to the knee joint. So build the strength around the knees first. And let that go. Back to tabletop position. Find your hands, this time close together. Place them close together, engage, and then send the hips backwards. So you're really engaged in the hands from the fingertips to the armpits, engaged. And then we're going to come forward, a little bend, and back. Forward, little bend, engaged. Staying here or building up and lifting knees to hover. So you're going to come forward, engaged. Nice and slow with control. Elbows come in towards the chest. And then bring it back to child's pose. Catch your breath and reset. Take your right arm like it's swimming behind you. Take a big, slow circle. Return it. Take your left arm, big, slow circle. Return it. Take a couple of rounds. Right arm, lift up, big, slow circle. Left arm, big, slow circle. Maybe starting to loosely engage. Lift. Find some twist in the torso. And then return to down dog. Actually, this is our first regular down dog. So, finding your down dog and finding some movement. Feeling your body, feeling your arms, your shoulders, your feet, your legs. And then lifting up out of the ground. Pull the hips away from the ground, up to the sky. Connect with your head below your heart. Long, slow breaths. Turn your world upside down. Take the tension out of the head and the neck. Slowly lift the right leg towards the ceiling. Bend the knee, flex the foot, active leg. Imagine the block is still there. Squeeze. Take your knee over to the right. Lift up. Imagine the block is still there. This leg still active. Try not to shift the shoulders too much. All in the legs. Engage the knee. Bring it back down towards the left knee. Still imagining you have your block. Bring it towards the right elbow. Still imagining you're squeezing the block. Back up. And then let go of your imaginary block. Push the heel towards the ceiling. And then
my imaginary
step through low
and I threw it at you.
Inhale forward. Exhale, sending right leg towards straight. Great time to use your blocks to lift up out of the ground a little.
Something not painful.
Finding your own movement, finding your own internal experience, whatever twists and turns you want to take. Feeling your own legs and where they're at. Land on the left leg in low lunge. Lift the torso up off the right thigh. Hold and hover, arms behind you. Tension out of the neck. Engage. And then inhale as we rise all the way up, high lunge. Bring the torso back forward. Maybe pop up the back leg. Engage that back leg like you have the imaginary block. Notice the difference in Warrior 3. Engage, engage, engage. Lower down.
It's meditation.
Bring out the front foot. Right foot meets left. Back to your down dog. Find your breath. Slowly lift the left leg. Imagine you have the block. Bring the heel towards the glute. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Bring the knee open towards the left. Slow and engage. Squeeze your imaginary block. Back down. Slowly bring the knee, squeezing your imaginary block towards the left elbow and back. Let go of your block and then press the heel towards the ceiling, little pulses. And then step through low lunge. Find some movement, inhaling forward and exhaling back. Left leg straight. Set up in your low lunge. Get a really strong base. Lift the torso up off the left leg. Fly the hands behind you. Get really strong. And then inhale, deeply rise up, high lunge. Bring the torso forward. Get really strong. Fly the arms. Engage the back leg like you still have the block. See if you can pop up. Warrior 3.
I think we should change today's class to Andrew. Andrew should be on Saturdays.
Breathe. Lower down. Frame out the front foot. Left foot meets right. Down dog. Breathe. Let go. Bend the knees. Look towards the hands and maybe take a few hops all the way up. Trying to get some weight onto your hands. Land on your feet about hip width apart. And then take the tension out of the head. Let the torso find the legs wherever the knees need to be for the torso to find the thighs. Let go. Take the tension out of the head, the neck. Breathe. Bend the knees deeply. Inhale, rise all the way up. Prayer overhead. Exhale, prayer down to heart. Find your center. Giant step back with the right leg. Open up wide to the side of your mat. So toes out, heels in. Find your goddess legs. Start to engage. So start to bring the legs down and up. Nice, slow, controlled movement. Finding the whole leg. So using the inner thighs, using the outer legs, pressing the feet like you're pushing them away. Taking the tension out of the toes. Toes should be wiggled soft. Really engaging the feet, legs, lift up out of the ground. Bring it to a little half goddess. So don't sink all the way down. It's not a competition for how low your hips go. Finding an engagement. Haley's learned her lesson with that. Find that place where you can be entirely engaged in your legs, but you can hold it. So you can hold strength throughout your legs. We are going to bend into the right knee a little bit more and take the hips a little bit over to that right knee. We're going to bend into the left knee and take the hips a little bit over. So it's a very slow, controlled movement. Find this slow, controlled movement first. Strong in this core, strong in the legs. And then if you want to find the challenge, you're going to take your arms out and you're going to start to make a little twist. Really slow and controlled. Taking your arms out makes your torso a little heavier. Engage the legs. Kayla's done already.
No, I just didn't understand the point.
So you're going to engage the torso for a twist. And you're also going to take your arms out. So your hips are your legs are getting a little more weight.
I feel the difference.
That's because I can see you're not engaged. You're just kind of like this.
I'm engaged. I can feel the muscles.
Land on the right leg. Get really strong. So find your base. So watch the knee. You want to be strong above and below the knee. So find that place where you can hold this, where you feel like everything is safely engaged. And then we're going to take the arms out. This time we are going to take the arms out. And you're going to lower the hips a teeny bit and down. Up and down. Torso a little bit more forward is going to make this more challenging. Small, small movement. Legs should be super engaged. Pulse it. Bring it all the way up. Over to the left. Find your base first, nice and strong. And then arms up. Little pulse of the hips. Tiny, tiny, tiny movement. Back to center. We're going to find our block. Bring your toes in and come forward. Legs closer together. You're going to work more of the back of the leg. Legs further apart. You're going to work more of the inner thigh. Make a choice of where you want to be. Engage the legs. Feel like you're pulling them apart. Holding on to the block and take some of the weight out. Let your head soft, your head and neck be soft. You can take this just hanging out static, or you can find a little movement. Bend into the knees, inhale as you rise up. Bring the feet back, about hip width apart. We're gonna bring the weight onto the right leg. Bring the left knee up, try not to move the hips. So left knee up, hold, engage, balance. We're gonna try and lift the left heel. See how strong your leg is. Maybe it feels a little stronger. Maybe it feels exhausted. Maybe grab the left thigh and see if you can straighten it out, lengthen it a little more without popping the hip up. And if you want to be super challenging, maybe you can grab the toe. Bring that down. Pedal it out.
Meditation.
Left leg strong. Right knee comes up. Don't move the hips. Hold it. Find your base. Get strong. Get tall. Right heel comes up. Notice left and right sides. One side's usually easier than the other. Maybe grab the thigh. See if you can lift that leg a little longer.
Just a hop slow.
No. Nice try though.
Are you sure? I think that clock is. Yeah, that clock is slow.
Bring it back. Maybe grab the toe. Lengthen out. Try to drop that right hip even with the left.
The clock is 2 minutes slow. It's actually 53 minutes. Hurry up, it's meditation.
And bring that down. Pedal it out.
Actually, I'm sorry. I meant it's 9 minutes slow. It's 12 o'clock.
Challenge time to come down this time. So we work the feet a little. Land on your feet about hip width apart. Engage the legs. Come up onto the heels. Up onto the balls of the feet, lifting the heels. Maybe even higher this time. Arms out, and you're going to lower down as slowly as you can. Arrive at a hover above the heels if you can. Hold it. And then bring it down. Take the legs out and give them a wiggle. Shuffle them. Get really tall in the, get really tall in the torso. Press the heels down into the ground. Lift the balls of the feet back towards the shin. Let the knees lift a little. We're going to pull the toes back towards the shins and then push the balls of the feet away from us. Pull the toes back and push away. Really feeling the legs. And then slowly make your way back to your back. Try to have your chair handy if you're using your chair. Make your hips kind of close to your chair, not too close. And then we'll come down, give yourself a little hug. And then plant the right foot down, knee up, plant the heel on the chair. Press the heel down. So now we're doing the same kind of thing as we did when we were squeezing the block, just using the chair to squeeze. Hips pressed down into the ground. Push the heel down into the leg. Fire this muscle up and then turn it on and off. Pulse it on and off, on and off, on and off. Squeeze, 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 off and on. let it go. Let the foot come towards the ceiling. And then maybe grab the shin, grab the thigh, whatever you can, wrap a towel around, and just feel the back of the leg. Move the foot, feel the leg.
The stretch feels nice now.
Hmm?
I said the stretch feels nice.
So one of the things that happens when we're looking to lengthen the back of the legs is oftentimes some of the muscles back here are just weak. So you may feel, Kayla just said, you have more space in the back of the leg. You may feel, even though this muscle group is tired, you may feel like you have more space just by working that muscle group. So you can rub it, take a little grab, bring a little circulation to this space. Wrap the left knee over the right, bring the knees in towards the chest. Feet come to opposite shoulders. You can hold on to the shins. We're looking for the glute area, and underneath the glute, the piriformis on the left side. Huh?
Best.
Breathe into this space. Let that go, unravel. Bring the right heel up onto the chair. Press actively down, that right heel down. Press it down, fire up that leg, and then pulse on and off, on and off. And then let that go. Right leg towards the ceiling. Find that place where you can find the back of the leg. Maybe it has a little more space. Maybe it doesn't. And a little massage, a little circulation to this space. Just bring your hands here. Wiggle it around, move it around. And then right knee crosses over left, feet come to opposite shoulders. Breathe into this space. That go. Option to take your feet up onto the chair for your final resting pose. So if you're going to take them up onto your chair, take some time to really wiggle out. Take out all the kinks. I'm going to help Kayla set up. Take your time to find a blanket, find a pillow, whatever you need for your resting pose. Going into a meditation. So, important note about resting pose. I have been guilty of this myself. Pushing your luck. So I have been guilty of this myself. Finding the last 10 minutes of the class to take a further stretch. So I often would put myself in a position where I felt like I had that physical feedback and I was getting the last few minutes of stretching. And I was really cheating myself because I wasn't learning how to turn my muscles off. And I was adding to the overall tension in my body. So all of the work that I did, I just increased until I was like wound so tight, all my muscles tight and taut. And I had no idea how to turn off any of that tension. So take the time to let your resting pose be a resting pose. Settling in, arriving on the ground. Maybe even taking the time to tell your body, as if you could tell each and every cell, one at a time, that all your needs are met. They can turn off and take a little break. So one of the purposes of all of this work is to learn what it feels like and have a mind-body connection with a muscle when it feels like it's turned on, so that we know what it feels like when the opposite is true and it is soft and at rest. So particularly thinking about that whole back of the leg area that most of our focus was on today. Notice what's present here. And if you think about that space in all kinds of words like, oh my gosh, I hate that teacher, that's fine too. So notice what is here. Notice perhaps what was holding here. Sometimes when we bring a little awareness to tension or weak muscles, we find emotions that were resting in this space. Notice what is present here and give your body, your mind, your mental space, your spiritual space, your energetic space, the presence. Be present with what is here. Be patient with what is present. And as your mind wanders and fluctuates, just try to return to what it feels like to be on the ground. As if kindly telling your body, it's all over, all the work is done, you can take a break. Bring a little more softness to the toes. Bring a little more softness to the soles of the feet. Bring a little more softness to the heels. And then imagine right at the soles of your feet are two little balls of energy. And these two little balls of energy contain precisely what you need in this moment. You do not need to cognitively understand that, but if it helps you focus, you can give it a label, a name, you can give it a temperature, you can give it a color, whatever helps you focus on the concept of two little balls of energy at the soles of your feet. And as you lay here, breathing just without control, breathing as your body breathes, you're slowly drawing this energy through the soles of your feet. And as this energy comes in, it's almost as if it can magically touch every cell and release tension. So as you breathe in, you're drawing in fresh from these balls of energy. And as you breathe out, these balls of energy are just gently sweeping it back out your feet. Drawing in fresh and gently sweeping away things no longer needed. And with each breath, the energy draws a little bit further up through the ankles, slowly through the lower legs, slowly through left and right sides of the torso, touching every cell, every organ, all the spaces between the ribs as they work all the way up the torso, touching left and right sides of the spine, breathing in fresh and releasing things no longer needed. Slowly reaching the shoulders, and then all the way down the arms to the fingertips. Back up the arms to the shoulders, and up the left and right sides of the neck, and landing at the base of the skull. Left and right sides, these two balls of energy, gently bringing fresh and sweeping away things no longer needed. And then at the base of the skull, imagine these two little balls become one ball of fresh energy, and you're going to place it right on the top of the spine where the spine meets the brain, landing in the very center of your brain. Placing this cleansing ball of energy, gently bringing in fresh and sweeping away things no longer needed. Imagine you could do that in your brain, in your mind. Breathe in fresh life as if your mind was a library filled with dust, an old library filled with dust and nooks and crannies. This ball of energy could sweep in fresh and sweep away things no longer needed. Sweep away all that dust. Imagine your brain is also pathways in the dust. Perhaps some people have occasionally walked through the dust and there's little pathways, and see them and see your little ball of energy sweeping away that dust pattern, leaving perhaps space for a new pattern to be formed, rather than following that old dust pattern, following someone else's footsteps, following an old worn trail. Imagine that you could sweep in fresh and sweep away things no longer needed here. Like you could do housekeeping in your very own mind. And this is an imagination exercise. We don't need to cognitively or scientifically or explain anything. We're just using our imagination. Breathing in fresh, sweeping away things no longer needed. And then see if you can just land in the center of the brain, allowing space for whatever is present here now. Noticing that the mind fluctuates. That's what the mind does. See if you can remain a little bit below the thoughts in this center space of the brain. Watching the thoughts as they flow. And then for the next few moments, just sitting here, observing the thoughts as they flow. If you get distracted or trailed off or caught up in one of those little pathways, just gently imagine sitting back into the center, waiting patiently for the turmoil to settle. And then you can sit back and watch the thoughts from a distance. If you're in a wonderful space and you have some time, please remain in this space in your resting pose for as long as you feel your body needs. If you need to finish up at the 75-minute mark, we are coming up on the 75-minute mark. So begin to bring a knee in at a time slowly towards your chest and curl up in a little ball, whichever side is calling to you. Connecting with the fetal position. Coming to this pose to remind ourselves of a time in the womb when all of our needs were met and we had not judged ourselves as negative or positive. We were simply a spark of life. We come to this pose to remind ourselves that that spark of life exists within us, unchanged by our experiences, unchanged by the fluctuations of our mind, unchanged by the judgments we place upon ourselves and others. Our spark of life exists within us, waiting for us to connect within. So perhaps thinking of one of those judgments or stories or trails in our library that we might be ready to let go of and leave here on the mat. And taking our time, coming on up to a seated position and finishing in familiar patterns. Familiar patterns and rituals, creating those less dusty trails in our mind, patterns that bring comfort rather than distress. So bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our hearts, as if accepting ourselves as whole and complete, exactly and precisely as we are. And no matter how many times it takes you to come to this pose and think about that statement until you believe it, may you continue to come to this pose and try over and over again. You are not broken. You are whole and complete, precisely as you are. May we all know love, light, and connection. Thanks for joining us.